Thomas Hale had always believed that loyalty was something you earned quietly over time. He was not a loud man. He did not dominate rooms. He built things slowly, carefully, patiently. At 46, he was the founder of Hale Infrastructure Group, a company that turned empty land into bridges, hospitals, and city skylines. 2 decades of 14-hour days had transformed his vision into a fortune worth more than $200 million. Yet on that gray morning in Manhattan, he sat alone in his office feeling poorer than he ever had. Across the room, his wife, Claire, moved through her routine with mechanical precision, checking her phone, adjusting her coat, fixing her reflection in the glass. She did not look at him. She rarely did anymore. Their marriage had once been full of late-night conversations, shared dreams, and quiet pride. But over the years, success had changed the silence between them. Not into comfort, into distance. Claire used to ask questions. Now she made statements. She used to listen. Now she calculated. Thomas felt it long before he understood it. The way she spoke about money. The way her affection appeared only in public. The way her patience vanished whenever his work required sacrifice. Still, he told himself this was normal. Marriage evolves, he thought. Love matures, he believed. What he did not know was that while he was building cities, Claire was building an exit. The discovery came by accident. Late one evening, Thomas returned home early, something he almost never did. A meeting canceled, a rare gift of time. As he entered the house, he heard laughter. Not the polite laugh Claire used at charity dinners. This was sharp, excited, alive. He stopped halfway up the stairs. Her voice carried clearly, "I am telling you, Lena, this is perfect timing. No prenup, 10 years of marriage, and the company valuation is at its peak." Thomas froze. Claire paced the living room, phone pressed to her ear. Her tone was confident, rehearsed. "He has no idea," she continued. "He still thinks we are fine because I smile at his partners. He thinks my silence is loyalty." A pause. "Of course I have lawyers. 3 of them, actually. The best in the city." Thomas felt the air leave his chest. She laughed again. "The penthouse alone is worth more than most people will earn in a lifetime. And the lake property, the investments, the firm. Even 40% would be enough to disappear forever." Another pause. "Suffer," she said. "Please. I wasted 10 years pretending to care about concrete and permits. That deserves compensation." Thomas leaned against the wall, his legs weak. The woman speaking downstairs did not sound like his wife. She sounded like a stranger wearing her voice. Claire continued, "I will file first. That way I control the narrative. He is too busy worrying about his mother anyway. He will never see it coming." That was when Thomas understood. Not just that his marriage was over, but that it had been over for a long time. That night, Claire slept peacefully. Thomas did not. He sat alone in his study, staring at framed photographs on the wall. Their wedding day, early project celebrations, family holidays, moments that now felt staged. At dawn, he made a decision. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, out of clarity. If marriage had become a transaction, then he would stop being the currency. The next morning, Thomas drove north to see his mother, Evelyn Hale, a woman who had lived her entire life in the same modest home, who never asked for his success, never touched his money, never interfered. She saw the exhaustion in his face immediately. "What happened?" she asked. Thomas told her everything. The phone call, the planning, the betrayal. Evelyn listened without interruption. When he finished, she reached for his hand. "Then we protect what you built," she said. Quietly, legally, completely. Thomas looked at her, surprised. "How?" She smiled for the first time that morning. "You forgot who taught you patience." Over the following weeks, Thomas lived 2 lives. At home, he played the unaware husband. At work, he became something else. Precise, focused, strategic. With the help of a seasoned attorney, every asset began to move. Slowly, cleanly, and visibly. Properties, investments, company shares, all transferred legally to Evelyn through trusts and management structures. Thomas retained responsibility, not ownership. The beauty was in its simplicity. Nothing hidden, nothing rushed, nothing illegal. Meanwhile, Claire continued planning, meeting lawyers, celebrating early victories, practicing speeches in mirrors. She believed the game was hers. She never noticed that the board had already been cleared. By the time she finally filed for divorce, she walked into the law office smiling. Thomas sat across from her, calm, silent, prepared. She thought she was about to win everything. She had no idea. She had already lost. Claire Hale believed control was everything. Control of timing, control of narrative, control of emotion. For months, she played her role perfectly, attending events, smiling for cameras, touching Thomas's arm only when others were watching. In private, her patience was gone. Conversations became short. Silence became sharp. Thomas noticed everything, but said nothing. Silence had become his advantage. While Claire refined her strategy, Thomas refined his exit. He met with Margaret Lynn, a legal strategist known for her calm mind and ruthless precision. She did not promise revenge. She promised protection. Marriage is a contract, she told him, and contracts can be exited cleanly if you prepare. Week by week, Thomas dismantled his own empire on paper, not destroying it, relocating it. The penthouse overlooking the city skyline moved into Evelyn's name. Thomas became a resident manager, nothing more. The lake property transferred quietly. The firm reorganized under a family trust. Evelyn as beneficiary, Thomas as trustee. Ownership vanished. Responsibility remained. At home, Claire sensed a shift. Thomas stopped arguing, stopped defending himself, stopped seeking her approval. She mistook this for weakness. Men collapse when they realize they are about to lose everything, she told her friends. She did not know he had already let go. The day she filed for divorce, she dressed carefully. White blouse, neutral tones, innocent style for court. Her attorney Richard Moore praised her preparation. "This will be clean," he said. "He will fold once he sees the numbers." Claire smiled. She had already spent her share in her head. The law office on Fifth Avenue felt like a stage. Claire entered late on purpose, letting anticipation build. Thomas sat waiting, hands folded, expression unreadable. When she spoke, her words were sharp, rehearsed. "I want what I deserve. 10 years of my life have value." She listed the penthouse, the cars, the investments. She spoke as if she were reading a menu. Thomas listened. Quietly, Margaret slid the document across the table. Claire barely looked at it at first. Then confusion crept in. Pages missing. Numbers absent. "What is this?" she asked. Margaret's voice was steady. "This is the current financial disclosure." Claire laughed nervously. "This is incomplete." Margaret met her eyes. "No, it is accurate." The realization did not come all at once. It came in waves. Current net worth 0. Property holdings none. Claire's smile cracked. Her attorney flipped pages rapidly, his confidence draining. "Where are the assets?" he demanded. Margaret folded her hands. "They belong to Evelyn Hale." Silence filled the room. Claire felt her chest tighten. "You cannot do that," she said. Thomas spoke for the first time. "I already did." Panic replaced anger. She accused, threatened, promised court. Thomas did not react. 3 weeks later, the courtroom felt colder than she expected. The judge listened, reviewed, questioned, and then ruled. No marital assets. Claire felt the floor vanish beneath her. Outside the courthouse, her phone buzzed. Not congratulations. Not sympathy. Bank alerts. Account limits. Reality. That night, she sat alone in an apartment she did not own, wearing clothes bought on credit. Surrounded by silence, she could not escape. Meanwhile, Thomas drove north. Not in triumph. In peace. At his mother's table, he finally slept. Because the war he never wanted was over. Claire Hale had always believed that power came from being seen, from being admired, from being envied. As she walked into the courthouse that morning, she held her head high. Cameras flashed. Strangers whispered. She imagined them thinking, "That woman is about to walk away rich." She wore confidence like armor. But armor is useless when the battle has already ended. Inside the courtroom, the air felt thick. Wooden benches, muted colors, no glamour. Reality has no interest in performance. Thomas arrived quietly. No entourage, no dramatics. He sat beside Margaret Lynn, his posture relaxed, his gaze steady. He looked like a man attending a meeting, not a trial. Claire noticed that, and for the first time doubt crept in. The judge entered. Proceedings began. Claire's attorney spoke first. His voice confident, rehearsed. He painted Claire as a devoted wife, a woman who sacrificed her identity, a woman entitled to reward. Claire nodded at the right moments. Tears appeared exactly when planned. She had practiced this. Then it was Margaret's turn. She did not raise her voice. She did not appeal to emotion. She appealed to fact. She walked the court through timelines, dates, signatures, transfers. Each word removed another illusion. Claire felt something slipping. Control. Her attorney objected, argued intent, accused manipulation. The judge listened, then asked one question. Who owns the assets today? The answer echoed. Evelyn Hale. The room shifted. Claire leaned forward. This is fraud, she said loudly. The judge looked at her calmly. Prove it. Silence. Paper does not care about emotion. Law does not care about betrayal. Thomas was asked to speak. He stood slowly. Not angry, not defensive, just honest. I built my company with discipline. I loved my wife with trust. When trust disappeared, I protected my work. Nothing more, nothing less. Claire stared at him, searching for weakness. She found none. The ruling came shortly after. No marital assets, no alimony, no claim. Each word landed like a verdict on her future. When the gavel struck, Claire did not cry. She froze, because panic comes after disbelief. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed Thomas. He declined every question. Claire walked past unnoticed. That hurt more than losing money. At home that night, she opened her closet. Designer clothes, luxury bags, worthless without liquidity. Her phone rang less. Friends avoided the discomfort of her failure. Meanwhile, Thomas returned to work, not rebuilding, continuing. He found joy in small things again. Morning coffee, quiet evenings, conversations without tension. Claire tried to fight back. Appeals, accusations, online narratives. None stuck. Truth does not need defense. Months passed. Claire downsized, sold what she could, learned limits. Thomas watched none of it. He was done watching. The irony was cruel. She wanted freedom. She got isolation. He wanted peace. He earned it. And somewhere in that imbalance, justice settled quietly. Claire Hale did not go home after the ruling. She walked, for hours, through streets she once ignored, past people she never noticed, past lives that did not care who she used to be. The city felt different when it stopped applauding. Every reflection in glass mocked her, not because she lost money, but because she lost certainty. For years, certainty had protected her. The certainty that she was desired. The certainty that she would never struggle. The certainty that someone else would always pay. Now certainty was gone. She sat on a public bench as daylight faded, watching strangers live lives she had never considered. Some laughed without wealth. Some argued without fear. Some held hands without strategy. For the first time in a decade, Claire wondered, what had she actually built? Not money, not love, only expectations. Meanwhile, Thomas returned to a routine he had abandoned during the marriage. Morning walks, evening reading, silence without tension. He did not celebrate. He did not post. He did not explain. He simply existed. At work, colleagues noticed the change. He listened more, delegated calmly, left earlier. Productivity rose, not because of pressure, because of clarity. Claire spent weeks chasing echoes, calling lawyers, writing emails, searching loopholes. Every answer sounded the same. Legal, final, closed. She tried to reframe the story, telling friends she chose freedom, that money had never mattered. But her voice betrayed her. Freedom without resources feels like abandonment. Bills arrived. Leases ended. Limits appeared. Each envelope carried weight she had never learned to hold. Thomas never blocked her, never insulted her, never responded. Silence was his boundary, and silence is unbearable to those who thrive on reaction. Claire sent messages, apologies mixed with accusation, regret wrapped in entitlement. Thomas read none of them. He had learned something important. Closure does not come from explanation. It comes from disengagement. One evening, Evelyn asked him if he felt guilty. Thomas thought carefully. No, he said. I feel awake. Claire moved again. Smaller apartment. Lower floor. Less light. She stood at the window one night watching the city glow. The same city she once believed owed her everything. She whispered to the glass, I deserve more. The glass did not answer. Claire Hale reached a point where memory became heavier than reality. Silence filled her days. Not peaceful silence, but the kind that echoes. She replayed conversations she once dismissed. Moments where Thomas had tried to reach her. Warnings she had laughed away. Regret did not arrive dramatically. It arrived quietly. In grocery store aisles. In rideshares. In the pause before sleep. And regret is dangerous when mixed with desperation. One evening, she opened an old laptop. The one she had not touched since before the marriage. Emails, documents, photos. She searched for leverage. Anything. A mistake. A crack. What she found instead was proof of her own blindness. Messages where Thomas defended her to partners. Emails where he protected her reputation. Plans he made assuming she would always be beside him. The realization hurt more than losing money. She had not married a fool. She had underestimated a builder. Claire decided she would not fade quietly. If the law had failed her, public opinion would not. She reached out to a journalist. Not a major outlet. A hungry one. She framed the story carefully. A powerful man. A vulnerable wife. A sudden financial maneuver. The article did not accuse directly. It suggested, implied, questioned. Sometimes suggestion is louder than truth. When the piece was published, it gained attention. Not outrage. Curiosity. Thomas noticed when a colleague asked him if he was okay. He read the article once. Only once. It did not anger him. It disappointed him. Because even now, Claire believed attention could replace substance. He responded the same way he had learned to respond to storms. By reinforcing foundations. Margaret advised patience. Let noise burn itself out. Thomas agreed. The firm issued no statements. He gave no interviews. And the story stalled. Because without reaction, there was no fuel. Claire watched engagement slow. Comments fade. Interest move on. She felt invisible again. Desperation sharpened into recklessness. She requested a meeting with Thomas. Not legal. Personal. Against advice. Against logic. She wanted to see him. To remind him of what they were. Thomas hesitated. Then agreed. Not out of hope. Out of closure. They met at a quiet cafe. No cameras. No lawyers. Claire arrived early. Nervous. Trying to look effortless. When Thomas walked in, she stood. Instinctively. For a moment, time folded. She saw the man she married. Not the figure she tried to defeat. They sat. She spoke first. Apologies tangled with justification. Tears mixed with pride. I was scared, she said. I felt invisible. I thought money would fix that. Thomas listened. The way he always had. But listening is not forgiveness. You didn't want partnership, he said calmly. You wanted insurance. She flinched. I wanted security. Security is built together, not extracted. The truth landed softly. But it landed. She asked him if he hated her. No, he replied. I outgrew you. That hurt more than anger ever could. They parted quietly. Claire walked away knowing something irreversible had happened. Not the divorce. The loss of influence. Thomas returned home lighter. Not because he won. Because he no longer carried unresolved weight. Yet life has a way of testing peace. Weeks later, Thomas received a call. A major project stalled. A political complication. Opposition rising. Power never disappears. It shifts. And someone was watching. Waiting. Weeks passed, and the city moved on, but Claire Hale did not. She was restless, haunted by the loss she had never truly expected. She watched Thomas from afar. Every public appearance, every social media post, every whisper in Manhattan circles. Her frustration grew, and with frustration comes risk. Claire decided to act, not with lawyers, not with courts, but with influence. She reached out to powerful contacts, old friends of her family, people who owed favors, people who believed in revenge. Her plan was subtle, insidious. She would undermine Thomas's projects, create delays, leak information, test the foundations of his empire. Meanwhile, Thomas continued with remarkable calm. He was aware, not threatened, aware of the shifting currents. He had anticipated risk, prepared for manipulation. Nothing could catch him by surprise. At the office, he met with Margaret Lynn. The tension was real. Claire is escalating, she said. Her influence is moving through networks. We cannot ignore it. Thomas leaned back. I expected nothing less, he said. Let her act. We respond with structure, not panic. Across the city, Claire made moves. Emails sent carefully. Hints dropped. Subtle threats implied. The people she contacted listened. Curiosity turned to concern, and concern turned to whispers. For a moment, she thought she had power again. She imagined Thomas scrambling, the empire wobbling, her victory imminent. But Thomas had prepared. All critical documents were airtight. Investors informed. Partners aligned. Every contingency anticipated. When a minor leak reached him, he did not panic. He assessed. He adjusted. He contained. Claire could not understand how someone she thought she had outsmarted could remain untouchable. Her actions seemed clever, but against foresight, they were predictable. One evening, she received a call. A minor project had stalled. She imagined Thomas panicking. She smiled for the first time in weeks. But he did not panic. He calmly reassigned resources, handled political complications, closed meetings, resolved issues quietly and efficiently. Claire realized something terrifying. She had been moving pieces, while Thomas had moved the board, and he had done so invisibly, completely. The city hummed around them, its noise a reminder of everything she had lost, and everything she could not regain. At home, Thomas reflected. Claire was testing limits, but she was testing a man who no longer relied on reaction. He was steady, immutable, prepared for storms, unshaken. And yet, he could not ignore her completely, because ambition unchecked is dangerous. And Claire had learned one thing well: how to leverage desperation. The next day, she attempted direct confrontation, inviting a meeting under the guise of cooperation. Thomas agreed, not because he was naive, but because observation is always more powerful than avoidance. The meeting was civil on the surface. Tension hung in every word, every gesture, every pause. Claire tried subtle intimidation, hints at financial instability, allegations of mismanagement. She probed for weakness. Thomas answered calmly, fact by fact, evidence by evidence. Never anger, never accusation, only reality. Her words bounced off. Her threats dissolved in logic. By the end of the meeting, Claire realized she was fighting a man who had anticipated her mind, who had accounted for every impulse, who had turned her cleverness into an echo. Her attempts to control him only highlighted her own vulnerability. That night, she sat alone, city lights reflecting off her apartment window, understanding that she was engaged in a game she could not win. Thomas returned home, not victorious, not proud, simply at peace. And somewhere in the quiet, the first real cracks of understanding appeared. Claire Hale was beginning to see that life had shifted, and Thomas Hale had quietly taken the lead. Claire Hale felt trapped by her own ambition. The losses she had endured were unbearable, and yet she could not walk away. Not yet. Not while Thomas remained untouched. Not while the city whispered about his empire. Her moves became riskier. Contacts deeper in her network. People who owed favors. Whispers turned to pressure. Pressure turned to demands. She began to call meetings, make promises, offer alliances. Every action a calculated push against him. Every email a subtle threat. Thomas watched quietly. He did not respond to panic. He did not reply to whispers. He observed patterns. Every shift, every tremor in her behavior, every crack in the facade. Margaret Lynn advised patience. "This is escalation," she said. "She is testing your limits. Your patience. Your control." Thomas only nodded. "Patience is power," he said softly. "Let her expend herself." Claire's desperation grew. Her attempts more overt. Public rumors started to form. Small leaks about projects. Hushed conversations. She tried to sway minor partners. Undermine investor confidence. Thomas countered. Not with words. Not with confrontation. With timing. With subtle moves. Documents secured. Investors informed. Partnerships reinforced. One evening Claire demanded a face-to-face. A confrontation she imagined would break him. She wanted a reaction. She wanted fear. Thomas agreed. He arrived at the meeting calm. Claire arrived with determination. Her eyes sharp. Her voice steady. But her hands betrayed her tension. The conversation began civilly. Claire attempted subtle threats. Hints at instability. Allegations thinly veiled as concern. Thomas listened. Responded factually. No emotion. No defense. Only clarity. Every probe she made, every attempt to unsettle him, bounced off, revealed her own desperation, her lack of preparation. Claire paused. She realized for the first time. Her cleverness was predictable, her influence meaningless, her control an illusion. Thomas spoke softly. "You cannot build a strategy on emotion. You cannot win by forcing reaction. You can only move the board with foresight." She tried one last maneuver. A bluff, an implied threat to investors and partners. But Thomas already anticipated it, already secured every document, every conversation, every contingency. Her bluff failed. Silence filled the room, heavy and quiet. For the first time in months, Claire felt powerless, not because of law, not because of money, because she had underestimated the quiet man. The man who never reacted, only prepared. She left the meeting, shaken, aware that every move she made now only strengthened him, aware that the game she thought she controlled was over. Thomas returned to his office, sat quietly, reviewed plans, continued life. No celebration, no triumph, only calm certainty. The city continued to move around them, oblivious to the battle. Oblivious to the silent victory that had already taken place. Claire Hale had no choice left but to escalate. She knew subtlety had failed. Her previous attempts had been anticipated, countered, rendered useless. She began preparing her final gamble, a move that could topple Thomas, or destroy her completely. She gathered documents, old contracts, minor agreements, anything that could suggest mismanagement. Negligence, anything that could create doubt. She contacted former associates, people who had left the firm, people who felt overlooked, people who carried old grudges. Her plan was meticulous, timing perfect. She believed Thomas would falter. She believed everyone would finally notice. Meanwhile, Thomas continued quietly, his office calm, his mind organized. He had already anticipated her intentions, already prepared every countermeasure, already insulated his empire. Margaret Lynn warned, "She is escalating beyond reason." But Thomas only nodded. "Let her try. We respond with structure, not emotion." Claire initiated her move, leaked a minor financial rumor, sent old documents to key investors, hinted at instability, suggested mismanagement. The ripple effect was immediate. Minor panic, questions, concerned inquiries. She smiled. For the first time in months, she imagined Thomas scrambling, her victory inevitable. But he did not move. He remained composed. He called investors, provided explanations, reinforced trust, clarified every detail, all before her insinuations could take root. Claire realized her mistakes. Too late. The evidence she thought could sway others only demonstrated her own desperation, her lack of control, her miscalculation. She decided on a final confrontation. Not public, not legal, personal. The last attempt to unnerve him, to assert dominance, to reclaim power. They met at his office. Claire poised, Thomas calm, Margaret quietly observing, a silent witness to the unfolding tension. Claire began carefully, implying errors, suggesting oversights, attempting to create uncertainty. Thomas listened, then spoke, calm, measured, fact by fact, explanation after explanation. Not defensive, not reactive, only clear, undeniable reality. Every bluff collapsed, every insinuation dissolved. Claire's tension grew, her desperation visible, her control slipping. Finally, Thomas spoke softly. Power is not reaction. Power is preparation, anticipation, discipline. Claire realized the truth. She had underestimated him. She had believed aggression could replace foresight. She had believed chaos could unseat certainty. The meeting ended. No triumph, no collapse, only clarity. Outside the office, Claire walked alone, her plans unraveling, her influence dissipating, her final gamble neutralized. Thomas returned to his study, sat quietly, reviewed ongoing projects, continued life with measured calm. No celebration, no acknowledgement, only certainty. The city continued around them, oblivious to the quiet victory, oblivious to the lessons of patience, strategy, and foresight. Months had passed since Claire Hale's final attempt. The city moved, the buildings stood, the skyline unchanged. Yet underneath the surface, quiet battles had been fought, lessons had been learned, hearts had hardened. Claire walked through Manhattan streets. Every reflection reminded her of Thomas. Every success he quietly claimed. Every achievement she had once dismissed. She realized the full cost of miscalculation. She tried to regain her footing, reached out to remaining contacts, hoped for leverage. But every conversation confirmed the same truth. Thomas had anticipated, prepared, outmaneuvered. The firm continued to grow. Projects flourished. Partners trusted him. Investors knew stability. Nothing her whispers or leaks could undo. Claire realized a final bitter truth. Her cleverness alone could never outmatch foresight, preparation, patience. She saw him once again in public. No confrontation, no tension. He simply walked, calm, composed, unshaken, and entirely untouchable. The sight of him brought a strange mixture: regret, admiration, and fear, because she understood finally. The quiet man had built not just wealth, but impenetrable certainty. At night, she sat alone in her apartment, the lights of the city flickering. She thought of everything she had wanted: the penthouse, the lake house, the lifestyle, and realized that none of it mattered if she had no control, no foresight, no patience. Her obsession with instant triumph had destroyed her opportunity for lasting success. Meanwhile, Thomas returned home, not with celebration, not with gloating, but with calm. He poured a cup of tea, sat by the window, watched the city lights, and felt the quiet satisfaction of integrity defended, of patience rewarded, of foresight validated. Margaret Lynn visited briefly. You could have crushed her, he said, but restraint and clarity are stronger than force. Thomas smiled softly. I did not want to crush. I wanted to protect. Everything built over decades. Everything earned with trust. And finally, peace. Claire Hale's story did not end in ruin, but in reflection. She downsized. She adapted. She learned limits. She understood the cost of miscalculation and the difference between aggression and strategy. The city whispered of Thomas Hale's empire, his calm dominance, his invisible victories. Few understood how quietly the battle had been won. Few saw the patience behind the perfection. And somewhere in the quiet moments, The greatest triumph revealed itself. Not wealth, not revenge, not public spectacle, but understanding. Thomas had taught a lesson no amount of planning could undo. The quiet man can see all. The one who builds with integrity outlasts the cunning. The one who prepares silently always has the last word. Claire walked past his office months later. A fleeting glance. No words. No confrontation. Only acknowledgement. Recognition of a man who had thought 10 steps ahead and had lived those steps without anger, without pride, simply with clarity. Thomas continued life. Work. Family. Peace. And the city continued around him. Unaware. Uninvolved. Yet perfectly aligned. With justice delivered. With karma timed. With life moving forward. The quiet man had not only protected what he built, he had proven that foresight outmatches ambition, patience defeats greed, and strategy triumphs over impulse. And in that quiet dominance, the story ended, not with spectacle, not with chaos, but with calm certainty. A lesson written not in headlines, not in tabloids, but in life itself.